All right, welcome to Peace of Mind Radio Podcast. I am Brian Ramsey. That's Chris Vaughn, and that's Aaron McAndrew. So today you're either going to turn us off as soon as we start this conversation, or you're going to tune in and go, "I have an interest in that," because this is definitely
it's a hot button topic.
It's a love-hate relationship. When you guys say,
yeah, absolutely.
Today we're talking about annuities. We're not going to go down the road of this type of annuity versus that type of annuity. That's not what we're talking about today. Really what we're going to go down the path of is how you can use annuities to your benefit in retirement. That's kind of the general concept.
Yeah.
Right? So now let me say this, that under no circumstance do we recommend that you put 100% of your assets in annuities. And I will tell you, there are guys in this city that I know some of them that could care less how much they're putting of your assets into annuities. Right. They'll do it all day long. We don't believe in that, but we do believe it in annuities for a specific strategy, right? And that's what we're going to talk about. So think of an annuity as, although some of you might say, "Oh, it's a dirty word."
It can be a dirty word.
It certainly can be. And
when people use them wrong. Yeah,
and we'll talk about why in just a minute. But think of it as a tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
And you're trying to solve a problem, and you've got tools in your toolbox, and sometimes an annuity can be one that you can use to solve a problem.
Yeah, when used properly, there's not another tool like it, really.
There's not.
When it's used correct.
Yeah, and I'm actually we're all going to give examples as we go forward, but I'm going to give you an example of an actual client who did this very thing it's been about 14 years ago now, and it's something he set in place that there is no way in any investment tool that we have that he can duplicate what he's getting right now. Just, it's impossible. He can't do it. So anyway, now, so first off, why are annuities sold so prevalently?
Because the commissions on them tend 100%. To be pretty high.
Oh, 100%.
No question.
There's most seminars you go to, hey, come to this free dinner.
Yep.
Free dinner this, free dinner that. Yep. We're going to teach you about financial planning. But what are they selling?
They're selling annuities flat out.
Absolutely. And the reason they can give you a free dinner is because
the commissions are so high on what they're selling.
I mean, it's unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I'll give you an example. So if you have the average advisor fee is 1.5%, national average.
Yeah.
Right? We're less than that, but national average is 1.5%. If you sell, let's say if you got $100,000, client comes in, here's $100,000. As an advisor on a fee-based platform, you make $1,500 for that year.
Yeah.
And you might meet with them once or twice a year or something, right? You sell them an annuity, you're making, 7-8% commission?
Yep. 7% is the average.
Okay.
And most of those people do take it up front. So I think we clarified
right.
that, there's some people that take that up front. Most of those people that are selling those take that up front, which 7-8%. We're selling a car.
And unfortunately, then just to add insult to injury to that, the very same people will frequently say when you've got a service issue, well, you have to take that up with the insurance company that sells the annuity. I don't service that. The insurance company does.
Yeah, because your contract's with the insurance company.
Right.
So the interesting thing is, my point behind saying that is, you can sell an annuity, which most guys that do the free dinners, they'll do, and they'll make as much commission as someone like in our group would make over a 5-year period.
Yeah.
Right? We have to service client for 5 years, meeting multiple times a year, and all the other stuff we do for the same commission. So anyway, so that's why that's why they're so prevalently sold. So just keep that in mind when you get a invitation in the mail. That's what you're in for. Now, so what we
not every time you get an invitation.
Well, that's true.
In the mail.
Well, that's true because we do them, but ours has nothing to do with annuities.
Right.
So anyway, all right. So let's talk about what is one of the benefits behind an annuity, right? What does it do for you in retirement?
Well, the big one is a guarantee.
Guaranteed what?
A guaranteed income for a given period of time, usually until you die.
Okay.
That's the big selling point. It is, without question, the biggest advantage is you can set them up so that at a certain point in time now or a date in the future to be determined or already determined, at that point in time, that income gets turned on. And you'll even hear the phrase mailbox money. You get your check every single month, and you'll continue to get it until you die or until you and your spouse pass away or until certain events occur. I mean, there's a lot of ways to set them up. But you're guaranteed by the insurance company never to run out of that paycheck.
Yep.
That's the big point.
You're creating your own pension by using that.
Exactly, yeah.
So
that's really how we position it. It's kind of like a pension, right? So
Well, a pension is an annuity.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, okay. So what is this? When if I'm looking at an annuity or somebody's talking to me about an annuity, what is that term that we use? Because we all know what it is. What's that term we use to state what we're talking about? This pension or this income? What's that term that clients would look for if they're meeting with somebody annuity? Oh, that phrase tells me I have annuity or I have the lifetime income.
I think you just said it. It's
Yeah,
guaranteed lifetime income,
benefit,
right?
Yeah. So it's a rider. It's something it's like an addendum to an annuity that says this is a provision that's on your annuity that provides you this lifetime income.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And those sometimes can be confusing too. So, I mean, you see that, and a lot of times people will say, hey, my account value's, X number of dollars.
That's where I was going.
And my income value, my guaranteed income value is O number of dollars. Why is that O significantly greater than here? And that's where the difference comes in. So that's important to look at as well. Not all those annuities, even if they have the guaranteed income for life rider on there, are created equal. So,
Yeah, that's exactly right. And in fact, we had a client that came in, it's been a couple of years ago, and he brought a statement in, and he was like, this value of my annuity is worth, I don't know, $400,000. And we look at it and we're like, no, it's not. And he's like, oh, yes, it is. And we're like, oh, no, it's not. That's the income account balance.
Right.
Has nothing to do with your annuity. Your market value was over here at $280,000, but the income. He's like, no, I was told I could get that number. Like, no, it's not how it works.
Right.
yeah.
Not how it works. So anyway, annuities. This is not a debate on how annuities work or talking about income account values versus market value. That's not what we're talking about here. That's for a different show. This is more the strategy around how we use them. So let's kind of get into that. Okay. So we know there's a lifetime income benefit rider, right?
Yep.
A provision on there says you can turn that on. They pay out for a certain period of time or till death or whatever the case is. Okay. So let's talk about examples of where you might use that.
Okay, well, how about there are people out there who are just adverse to the risk of investments.
Right.
They don't like that concept.
Yep.
The very thought of having their money in the stock market is terrifying. Well, that's something where you can use the annuity to say, okay, like you said, you called it a pension.
Yep.
We're going to create a pension for you using an annuity that then you don't have to worry about that. So that's kind of where you're going with that. That's one big strategy for it, right?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's multiple strategies.
Yeah.
We're just kind of round robin.
Yep.
There's
people to go alongside what Chris just said is there's people that they don't want to lose sleep at night. So we have a stock market crash like we had during the pandemic that's not just up and down,
and it stays down,
back up, stays down or whatnot, stays volatile. Those people don't have enough time. They're not working anymore. How can they replace that? If they're drawing off of that IRA money, they're drawing already off of a negative losing account. So now they're drawing more out of that, and it's just going to have a harder time going back up. So just went along the lines of that with the safety and just the peace of mind, being able to put my head on a pillow at night and know that stock market's up and down. But
I saw an interesting statistic a few years ago that said that retired government employees tend to be a little bit more satisfied during retirement, and it's because their income stream is guaranteed. It's a pension. It's an annuity provided by the state or the federal government, whoever it is that they work for. They don't have to worry about when the market goes down and stays down. Think about 2008, for example, where it stayed down for a while, because that paycheck's going to continue rolling in.
Teachers the same way.
Absolutely.
That's a great.
The teacher pension in Kentucky and Indiana is perfect examples of that.
Yeah. Okay, so here's another example. You brought this up earlier. This is kind of where I was going with my question.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it was good. It was good debate, but that's not exactly
what you were looking for.
No,
okay.
No, just kidding. No, that's good. I mean, those two things are important. So when we're talking to a client and we're talking about getting into retirement and let's say high income earners, that's something you brought up, right? So we got very high income earners and they know that typically high income earners have high monthly expense, right? So their lifestyle is a lot more because they're higher income earners. So Social Security only makes up a small percentage of their overall need, right?
Right.
And so what are some of the conversations we have around positioning annuity.
Okay, so here's one that you could use where you're basically, it's a Social Security replacement. So I've spoken
or
to,
in addition to.
or in addition to, not a
Yeah,
replacement,
yeah.
right? So I've spoken to people that are very, very high income earners, but they're also very, they're afraid of the market. They don't like that. They'd like to have that paycheck coming in. All right, so Social Security comes from the first, it's like 130,000, somewhere around there, of your income. So if you make more than that, the part that's over it is not, you don't pay Social Security tax on that. So effectively, there's a cap. And I've had conversations with these high income earners that'll say, well, based upon my retirement, this is going to be such a small part of my retirement, I'm not that worried about it, right? When referring to Social Security. So one strategy would be to take the amount of money, you pay 6.2% and your employer pays another 6.2% into Social Security. Total of 12.4. So take the amount of money that you make over and above that 130-ish, whatever the number is now, and put 12.4% of that into an annuity. And then at retirement or at Social Security age, you turn that annuity on just like you would Social Security. Now you've created a fairly large paycheck for yourself if you pay into that for a long enough period of time.
Yeah. Well, and just think that, and that also goes into most of us that are contributing to, or especially high income earners, they contribute 10% of their salary. They max out their 401k like
Right.
in what, March.
Quick.
April.
Right.
And then they don't put any more. So it's a great way to continue that 10% or so.
Because there's no limitations on it.
Right. You just continue to say, yeah, okay, it can't go in my 401k, but maybe I'll divert it over here and continue to save, and we'll, eventually put that money.
And you get on that annuity contribution, you get a similar treatment to qualified investments like 401ks, IRAs, things like that. Yep. It's not exactly the same, but it's a similar way of deferring your taxes till later.
So another strategy along the lines of what Chris just mentioned as well is I've used annuities, especially the ones that have flexible premium. So what that means is not all annuities have this option. A lot of times it's just lump sum. They got to put it in, or else you have to put the premium in the first year. But this will allow you to put premium in subsequent years. So so you don't have to keep having. Everybody has all seen clients that have had 10 annuities or 5 annuities or something out there. They'd have one annuity, and they can have, maybe they have an IRA, or they've got a non-qualified account and it's a non-qualified annuity. But then what you can do is, years the markets is doing really well, you can carve off your gain and move it over to your safe bucket. Use the annuity as a safe bucket. Yep. That annuity may have income on it, and usually does, because that would be their own pension that they're creating. So when they get down to when they need to use the money in retirement, now they've got their growth bucket, now they've got their income bucket here, and that income bucket is secured against the market risk.
Right. Yeah.
So
there's one other strategy that I've used in several cases. And that is, we were doing some cash flow planning, and we identified several clients that had whole life policies.
Yep.
So these are whole life policies. They were essentially going to make this premium payment forever. As long as they're alive, they were going to make this.
You pay on it for your whole life.
Right. Now, they're not all designed.
Not all like that, but yeah.
But for the most part, they are. So what we wound up doing was, we knew this was an expense, and there were some other expenses that I've done too. We'll just use this one as an example. So we knew we were going to have X amount of expense for the rest of our life. The whole life policy, this was level premium. So we knew what it was. It was going to be the same forever. So we designed an annuity. We funded it so that when they retired, this is pre-retirement. So when they retired, we knew that we needed X amount of dollars per year to fund that policy. And what they wanted is just to set it and forget it. When they retired, we turned that annuity on. It now is making that premium payment. They don't have to worry about it, because the annuity is scheduled to pay out for the rest of their life no matter what. And the premiums on that are going to be there until you pass away. So it wound up being a great fit. But that is, again, all three of these are reasons why you do an annuity. You wouldn't just go get an annuity just to invest in it, because it doesn't grow that much. But it properly designed, it's a great tool that we have in our toolbox to help in different strategies, right?
Yep.
And that's really the point behind this. Now, we can't go through them all, because we'd be here all day.
Yeah, we'd be here all day, right.
But this is just to give you a little example of some things that we do. They're a little bit unique, at least we think they are. and how we position annuities in our practice. Now, design. Let's talk about design. Okay. Again, plenty of strategies around using them. However, they sometimes have to be designed properly to fit whatever solution that you're talking about, right? Or whatever you're trying to solve. So talk about annuity design. What we're talking about is lump sum versus an end payout, or designing it around what do I have to put in that bucket to then get a solution at the end. You guys want to tackle that?
Sure.
one?
I've got one that's just come up recently. A lot of people are becoming aware of this. As part of the Secure Act that went into force beginning of 2020, when you inherit money from somebody that's in an IRA, for example, so that money's qualified, you used to be able to use it in what's called a stretch. You'd stretch those required minimum distributions out over your lifetime. You can't do that anymore. You've only got 10 years with which to get all that out. Now, that's also a hot button topic right now with the IRS, but you could take an annuity, you inherit this lump sum of money. You've got 10 years to pay it all out. Doesn't matter if you do it up front, at the end, whatever. You put that money into an annuity that immediately starts the distribution so it spaces out correctly over the 10 years. You don't have to worry about does it take care of everything correctly. And then hopefully, depending on the design that you put in, be it indexed or variable or whatever the case might be, get some growth on that money while it's distributing. So you keep from running afoul of the IRS by not having to worry about it. It's kind of a fire and forget strategy.
Yeah.
So that's one design option.
Yeah.
One design option that I've used in the past as well with several clients that maybe come in, and this is kind of more common now, where they come into pension buyouts. They get to the point where the private companies that are offering these pension plans, and they say, oh, you're going to retire now. Well, you could take a lump sum, or you could turn your pension on in 3 or 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, however long it is, and you're going to get this dollar amount. Well, you back into figuring out how much you have to earn on that annuity that works the same way as the pension does in order to get that payout there. And oftentimes you can find, if you take that lump sum on the buyout, it might be 2 or 3% a year is all you're going to need to get in order to get to that guaranteed lifetime payout. Mm-hmm. So by putting it into something like that, there's multiple, obviously, annuities that you can put it into, but you're also doing two things. One, you're going to be able to potentially get a higher payout there, and also based off of age payout and rates at the time, but at the same time, you're taking control over that money, and these annuities have death benefits to them. So, a lot of times it's either premium that's been put in greater premium or account value or whatnot of the annuity. If you pass away and you're taking income, you could pass that money on to your beneficiaries. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a pension, if you elect a single payout, and some of those pensions, if you're a single person, that's it. And if you live one day after you start drawing it and you pass away, there's no, there might not be any beneficiary at all on that.
Yep.
You lose that money. Whereas if you do it on the annuity, there's a beneficiary that can inherit whatever that balance would be.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what I kind of bring it down a little bit. Just the conversations I have around design, and that is really, I think you can design it one of two ways. You can design to say, I've got X amount of dollars. So I'm going to give you, hypothetically, $100,000, and I'm not going to turn this thing on for 10 years. So we can run the estimates to say this is what the lifetime income could potentially be in 10 years. And so you just kind of get whatever it is, whatever that number is, right? A couple $1,000 a month or whatever the number is. You can also design to say, okay, like we did with the one case I was talking about earlier, was we needed a specific amount of money for some period in the future. So we can go to the annuity company and say, hey, I need to know what I need to deposit today to get $2,000 a month in 10 years from now. And they can back into that number to say, well, you've got to put $100,000 down. So you can design it one of two ways. You've got a predetermined lump sum, and then you're basically designing to see what that number would be, your lifetime income. Right. Or you can say, I know what I need that lifetime income be. What do I need to deposit today to get there? So we have those conversations all the time. I mean, that's kind of how I've always gone about designing, is determine which equation you need. Yeah. So here's a quick example, and then we can kind of wrap up if you guys have any other examples. But I have a client, and this kind of goes back to the conversation that you and I, well, all three of us are having, but you and I were specifically talking about earlier, and that is, annuities can be a vehicle that can do things that no other vehicle that we have exposure to can do.
Right.
It just can't do it. So we had a client. It was actually a client that I started working with that already had an existing annuity. And so they had turned it on, and it was about, I'm going to say 12 years prior to him retiring. It was supposed to be 10, then he worked an additional 2 years, so it wound up being like 12 years, okay? So he had a fixed index annuity with a lifetime income benefit rider, okay?
Okay.
He originally put in, it was an IRA, so it was about 200 and, I'm going to say it's like $250, 275,000, something like that, okay? 250 to 275,000. So originally put that in there. The account value was like a little over 300,000. So it didn't, whatever the numbers were, it wasn't like a great return.
Right.
Because he was limited. I mean, I think the most he could get in a year was like 2% or something. So it wasn't that much. Now, the income account value was like almost 400 grand or more than 400, or it was like 425. I don't know what the number was, but it was a big number. So we called. He was, I don't know, like almost 70 when he turned this thing on. He was late turning on his Social Security because he worked. So he turned this thing on. His account value was like a little over 300,000. He's getting $27,000 a year for the rest of his life.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, it's a race to zero at this point, right?
Yep.
So you want to live, get the 27 grand a year. It's about a 12-year difference, right? Turn it on about 12 years, his account value is gonna be zero, but he's still getting a 27 grand a year.
And you can't. That's a lot of times you'll get those questions as to why is my account value here, and those fixed index annuities quite a bit. That really is the truth. You're guaranteed to get in. If you make it to zero, you're guaranteed in the insurance company's pocket at that point.
Yeah.
So you're literally, you're getting that guaranteed payout no matter what, and you're only putting that amount of money you needed into that fixed index annuity. You've got the rest of your growth assets over here that you could pull off of it whenever you want.
Right.
But
That's right.
That's a true vehicle that is unlike any other.
Yep.
But I told him, I said he was complaining about something at one point. Oh, he was complaining about his account value going down. And I said, it's designed to do that. We talked about the reasons why. And I said, let me tell you something. That was very smart of you to do that, because there's no investment vehicle. You could have taken that 200 and whatever thousand it was and invested in anything in the market or whatever, have it grow to that, because it was like an 8% guaranteed rate of return. So I'm like, there's no way it would have ever grown to that 400 and some thousand income value and then flip a switch and get 27 grand a year for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Because the 400 grand at 27,000, remember that account value is going to go up and down.
Yep.
Plus you're taking money out. So I said, there's just no way it works. He's like, well, I don't understand how that happens. I go, well, number one, the insurance company is going to bet that you're going to pass away prior to you getting to zero.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's their thing.
how it works.
They're taking
Right.
huge fees out. I explained to him how the fees work, and he was like, that's unbelievable. And I go, who cares? You're getting $27,000 a year for the rest of your life. Who cares about fees at that point? Yep. Beneficiaries might, right? But anyway, so it's all about design, and it is about planting a seed and letting that seed grow. So it's very difficult. You couldn't get those same numbers if you rolled a bunch of money into an annuity and said, I want to flip on the income that day. It just, that can't happen.
Yep. And then even if the argument is, well, why don't I just pull off my IRA? Well, on the years that you're getting 7 out of you might get 7 positive years on average out of 10 in a market, but those 3 years you're drawing off of a negative balance. And that's going to cause your account value to possibly you not be able to either pull as much money out as you can, or you're going to drive it even lower, and it might not come back the way it is. You don't have enough time left.
Yeah, exactly right.
Or you're not making enough money.
That's actually one of the big positives with some annuities. Not all of them work this way. Is your regular IRA, you can have a down year, but in some annuities they don't have down years. They're zero, but there's no loss, and that's a guaranteed function of the product. So there are some really neat benefits in there.
Yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, we'll kind of conclude here, but I think at the end of the day, we view annuities. We're not a love and hate. We're sort of in the middle. We're very unique, right? So we don't love them. We don't hate them. We're sort of in the middle. We think they serve a purpose. They're a tool in the toolbox. Yep. And if we have a particular situation that comes up, an annuity is the tool that we need to address the problem. That's what we're going to use. We've given you a couple examples of how we use them. They can be designed multitude of different ways, so it's all about design. And every annuity company has a little bit something different, right? They're just a little bit different how they're constructed and how they do the lifetime income benefit. So it's kind of all over the board. So at the end of the day, when it comes to annuities, if you go to a free dinner and they wow you with the numbers, be very suspect with the numbers. I'm just telling you. But bring all that information in here. We're happy to give you a courtesy conversation and review on what they were telling you. And then if you want to do it, you can do it. But you might have a little bit different opinion after you leave. So, true?
Yep, true.
All right. So any other comments about annuities? No, we're good?
We could go on for hours on this subject.
I know, I get it. All right, so so we'll wrap it up today. So if you're watching, make sure that you subscribe and you click the little bell. The things I've been watching, they say click the bell, everything, you get noticed. Something about that, Mr. Producer, you know what I'm talking about? Okay, all right, click a little, you got to click, notification, click the little bell. If you want us to address a particular topic, make sure that you send us a reply or just make a note in the comment section. We'll check it out. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 3 levels of estate planning. It's a little bit different. We're not talking about the documents. It's not that. It's a little bit different strategy. So make sure you tune in.
But it's one that everybody needs to go through.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's when we do classes and we talk about the 3 levels of estate planning, that's probably the one that we get the most questions.
Yeah, it is.
And everybody's like sitting on the edge of the seat going, I never knew that. And in fact, we talk about level 3. The majority of people have never heard anything about it. In fact, you had a client that did that last week?
Yeah, I was talking about this over the weekend.
Yeah, over the weekend. That's right. Yeah. So make sure you tune in. We do have 2 other podcasts. One is called Connecting the Commonwealth. That comes out weekly. It's all about entrepreneurs. It has nothing to do with us. It's all about entrepreneurs, business owners in the community. We try to highlight their products and services. And then the third, which we all have fun doing, is called Bourbon and Beyond.
I was waiting for him to screw it up.
This is going so well, too.
Burgers and bourbon.
Burgers and bourbon. It's very cool. But anyway, that's it for another week. Please make sure you tune in to next week. And if you missed any episodes, go back to our podcast channel and check out those episodes.
And if they'd like to get in touch with us and they're just listening, let's throw out the number and a contact. Okay, so the number, if you want to get in touch with us, and if you're watching, I'm sure the producer's putting this up on the screen, give us a call at 502-200-5210, or you can email us at info@fwppartners.com, or just check out the website, fwppartners.com.
That's it. Have a good week.
The information given herein is taken from sources that IFP Advisors, LLC, doing business as Independent Financial Partners, IFP, IFP Securities, doing business as IFP, and its advisors believed to be reliable, but it is not guaranteed by us as to accuracy or completeness. This is for informational purposes only, and in no event should be construed as an offer to sell or solicitation of an offer to buy any securities or products. Please consult your tax and/or legal advisor before implementing any tax and/or legal related strategies mentioned in this publication, as IFP does not provide tax and/or legal advice. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and do not take into account the particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs of individual investors. This report may not be reproduced, distributed, or published by any person for any purpose without IFP's express prior written consent. Securities offered through IFP Securities, LLC, doing business as Independent Financial Partners, IFP, member of FINRA and SIPC. Investment advice offered through IFP Advisors, doing business as IFP, a registered investment advisor. IFP and Family Wealth Planning Partners are not affiliated. The information given herein is taken from sources that IFP Advisors, LLC, doing business as IFP, IFP Securities, LLC, doing business as IFP, and its advisors believed to be reliable, but it is not guaranteed by us as to accuracy or completeness. This is for informational purposes only, and in no event should be construed as an offer to sell or solicitation of an offer to buy any securities or products. Please consult your tax and/or legal advisor before implementing any tax and/or legal related strategies mentioned in this publication, as IFP does not provide tax and/or legal advice. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and do not take into account the particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs of individual investors.